All right, let's see. Waiting for the counts to start. That's fine. Remove. Cancel. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Good to see everybody in here. We got an awesome live stream for you today. Well, let's go ahead and just bring her up.
Hi, everyone.
So we had 4 people in here at the moment. We can just go ahead and start. There's 2. So we'll just wait. We'll just do some small talk till we get more people coming in.
Sounds good.
Now here, we call him Jimmy P. This is Jimmy P. He just changed his name in honor of his father, but he said he's already subscribed to you.
Thanks for your subscription.
So I hate that. There was like 4 people in here and then they dropped off. They'll be able to come back. That's usually happens. It starts off slow and then they start powering in. Also, sometimes with StreamYard's chat, it's always delayed a little bit. So I'll have a phone with me and just look off that chat because it's a little bit quicker.
Yeah.
Will you grab my phone, baby? Just unplug it. No, that one. Yeah, grab that. So, like we were talking backstage there a little bit. I was just scrolling through. I've been doing my YouTube channel for about 2 years now. And I came across some of your videos and I started watching a couple of them. And I seen that you were into the natural sandcap dirted tanks. Now, do you actually do the father fish method? Are you just sandcap dirted tanks with a bunch of plants? Or do you go into the depths of it like Father Fish does with the resurrection jars and all that little recipe he makes you can buy?
Yeah, so I don't do the Father Fish method. It's very similar. I just simplify it by using aqua soil, and then I cap that with sand so that the nutrients in the aqua soil stays locked in longer and it doesn't go out into the water column because it is locked in with the sand. So I don't do like all the different soil mixes like he does. And I have one tank with potting soil, but I don't have potting soil in any of my other tanks. So.
Okay. Now, what soil do you use?
ADA aqua soil.
Oh man, you're spending those big bucks.
Yeah. So my first introduction to the aqua soil was MD Fish Tanks. If you follow him, he's an awesome aquascaper, and he used the ADA aqua soil in one of his videos. And so I just went to my local fish store and asked if they had it, and they looked at me like I was crazy because they could tell I didn't know what I was doing. They're like, "You want this aqua soil? It's kind of expensive."
It is. It is expensive. I just went to Lowe's and got some organic topsoil that they had. I got 2 bags of it, and that's what I've been using.
Yeah.
But I was scrolling through and I seen you come up and I started watching your stuff and I was like, man, I've never seen her before. I wonder how long she's been doing this. So it actually took 2 times for you to see it. I think it was like maybe a month prior. I said, would you want to come up on my channel and do a live stream? You never replied. And then, so I was like, let's just try it again. Maybe she didn't see it. And you were instantly all for it. So
I must not have seen it the first time. Sorry. Yeah, thank you for having me on here. I was super excited to be on here and just get my name out there more and chat about fish tanks. It should be fun.
Yeah, and ever since we started going back and forth, I always mention your name. I actually mentioned you, and I think one of my last 2 videos on the sandcap dirted tank. And some people has subbed to you, and so anybody that's in here, if you're not familiar with Talisa, definitely check her channel out. She's been doing it for, what'd you say, 5 months? The YouTube channel?
It's definitely a work in progress still.
Yeah. Oh, it takes time to climb up. Now, how long have you been keeping fish?
A little over 6 years.
Oh, very
So
nice.
this summer will be 7 years, but
Okay.
for the majority of that, it's just been beta fish. So I'm still learning a lot. Like I have a lot to learn, but I do know a lot about beta fish. So,
Yeah. Is that your favorite fish?
um, I don't know. So it was at first. That's why I had them. I still really appreciate them, but I also really like my axolotl. And I know my axolotl isn't a fish, but I don't know.
And
I
there's a
like beta fish. They're great. I also really like goldfish, but I wouldn't say they're my favorite just because you need to have such a large tank for them. Um, but I do have goldfish also. So
um what what's your biggest tank that you have?
a 40-gallon. So I don't have very large tanks. My goldfish are babies still, so they're in a little pond. And once they get bigger, I'll probably move them over to a 75-gallon. Really, I'm just waiting till we move because I am not setting up a 75-gallon tank and then moving it to a new house in a month or two, whenever we end up moving. So,
Absolutely. I think you're taking the perfect approach to that. Like we are entertaining if the cards align moving to Florida. And I mean the bottom of Florida,
yeah.
West Palm. And I've
Wow.
got 12 tanks. Excuse me, three of them are 125s, two of them's a 75, one's a 55. Then I got a 29, three 10 gallons, and two 20-gallon longs. It's like, and I don't want to get rid of my fish. I'd like to take them with me. So there's that process. It's like I don't blame you at all for
Wow.
you know.
Yeah. I'm keeping them in something small. They're babies, but yeah.
Yeah, I do have betas is a fish we've always kind of had over the years. I got two male, one female, one male left. My daughter had one for a while, and she decided she didn't want to do it anymore. So I brought it out into the fish room, but it had its own 29-gallon tank.
Oh wow, nice.
Living Lord Janice, good to see you. Hello to you, Jimmy P. Good to see you, Sketty. Thanks for coming in. Got people rolling in now. So you've been keeping fish for it's going to be 7 years. And one of your videos you put out, you're talking about moving. So right now
Mhm.
you kind of live out in the country, and you also keep horses.
Yeah, yeah, I have horses too.
My daughter loves horses. We take her horseback riding lessons.
Oh, fun. I bet she enjoys those.
Yeah, I said I commented in one of your videos. You crazy wanting to move in the city with all the crazies?
Yeah, we're crazy.
But
Uh, it's supposed to be a short-term move. We're supposed to live in town for a few years and just put all of our assets into investments so that we can kind of get ahead and then
mhm.
we can afford to have a nicer place in the country.
Oh, I see. I see. Very
Yeah.
cool. Not a bad
Yeah.
idea. Do what you got to do in this world. Everything's so dang expensive.
Yes. Yeah. It's crazy out there.
So you've got how many betas do you have? Did I lose you?
Sorry, you cut out. How many what do I have?
How many betas do you have?
Uh, I think it's 11. Let me count though. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, I have 9, not 11. I
That's
have 9 beta fish. Yeah. So I'm kind of switching gears. I'm moving into other fish. Um, just learning how to take care of other fish other than just beta fish. So as my older ones start dying off, I probably won't replace them. I'll probably just have less small beta tanks. But
So you did mention goldfish, but like you say you're interested in different fish. What different fish are you interested in getting a hold of? What piques your interest?
I really like live bears and I really like shrimp.
Okay.
So I have Neocaridina shrimp. They are so easy. I have multiple colors, and I really want to get into those a little bit more. I don't plan on being like some big time breeder, but just have a few shrimp tanks, a couple at least. And I really like my axolotl. I don't know if I would have more than one axolotl, but she needs a nice tank upgrade and all that. And I have goldfish. I like those. I probably won't ever have more than one goldfish. And I'm thinking about getting a saltwater tank just for the challenge, but that probably won't be anytime soon because like I feel like my life's crazy enough right now. I don't need the challenge of learning how to keep a saltwater right now, but that might be something I do in the future too.
Yeah, I've contemplated saltwater tanks too, and I know that you can set up smaller ones, but I don't want the additional cost of having to buy the salt, having it pre-mixed. You got to buy that
Hmm.
hydrometer to make sure the salinity is correct, and it's like, but I mean, you can't get prettier fish and interesting fish, but I don't know if I want to like you add that in right now.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's expensive too. I've just started looking into it and doing research, and I've almost been scared off of it a little bit. But the owner of the local fish store I go to, he's like, "Oh, they're pretty easy. Like a lot of people wish they had have gotten into them sooner." So I'm like, "Well, I don't know. I'm still thinking about it."
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I love purple live bears. So I have purple guppies, purple haze guppies. I have purple endlers, and I have fry from both of them. And so far, I think the purple endlers are my favorite. They have shorter fins. The females don't have any color, so they just look super natural in my planted tanks. And then the males are like a light purple or a darker purple, depending on the light they're under. And I just think they're beautiful. I love them. But
Yeah, I have better luck with bigger fish, but I do like my smaller fish. So I have a little bit of everything in here, and they are like I got some. I was the one live stream I had on today. They're silent live streams. That's an acquired taste for some people, but you were coming in and
yeah,
commenting, so you probably seen it. But they
yeah.
are cool, and I like the rasboras, the platies, and one of
Mm,
my favorites is the neon tetras. Um, but
yeah, I love neon tetras.
super colorful and hardy, man. Like when it comes to betas, I think the longest I've kept one, they don't live real long. I think their lifespan something like 4 years or five or something like that.
Yeah, anywhere from like 2 to 5 years typically.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and these ones are still going on strong, but you get them and then they die. You get them and then they die. But so when these ones go, I probably won't have any more, and I'll shut down those tanks that they're in. Like this one 20-gallon long over here is a mustard gas beta. He was
Those are
actually
pretty.
he was actually a rescue from my community. They needed to move. I took him, but he's in there with
Mm.
cherry shrimp because I have some cherry shrimp, and he does pick one off here and there, but they reproduce so fast he can't keep up with it.
Yeah, they do.
I
Yeah, I
had
have some beta fish that will kill off every single shrimp in the tank, and then I have some that just like swims up to him and sits next to him and just leaves him alone. It really
yeah,
depends on the fish.
yeah. I always say that they got when someone asks me if they can keep this fish with this fish, I say, look, it's just one of the things you got to try because like people, they all have different personalities. You might have one that you can't keep together. Like prime example, I had take one of my mbunas out of my 75 and mbuna tank because they had his fins down to a nub. I,
Oh,
I took him out, I healed him up, but I put him in my 125 community tank. He don't bother anybody. He's healed up and he's happy as he could be, you know. But it's an mbuna, right? It's supposed to be aggressive, but he doesn't bother anybody. In my
oh.
tank.
He was probably like the omega of the tank.
Yeah, but then I started with 10 of them and they reproduce like crazy. There's probably 50 in there now. I can't. Every time I turn around, there's new babies. So the plan is moving to one of these 125s, get them out of that 75
Do
because they
they
are
just lay eggs to breed? How do they breed? How do
they're
they reproduce?
they're mouth brooders. So they hold
Mouth.
their
Oh, okay.
they hold their eggs in their mouth. They just spit them out. Like it's funny
Mm.
because if they hold them in their mouth, they'll let the babies come out, but they stay around their mom. And if there's
Mm.
something that scares them, she opens her mouth and they all go whoop right back in.
You should make a video of that. That would be fun to watch.
If I've been trying to catch it. It is hard. It's hard to catch, but every time I turn around, there's little babies in there. But
Oh,
so if anybody has any questions for Talisa, we got 17 people in here now. It's moving on up. Uh, if you didn't see the thumbnail for this live stream, this is Talisa the Aquarius. She's into the natural tanks. Tommy, Silver Creek Aquatics here is a big naturalist and homesteader. That's how he keeps all his tanks. He could
mhm.
talk to you about some interesting things as well and how he keeps his tanks. So if anybody has questions for Talisa, feel free to ask. I'll make sure they go up on the screen so she can see them. Price tag. Hi, Salient. I pop in and say hello to Talisa. I call him P tag.
Hello, price tag.
Welcome, NLA. That's New Local Austin.
Mm.
So very cool. So this is your first live stream. I'm glad I could be your first. Juanita in here. I don't know. You can't see chat, right?
I cannot see the chat. No.
This is Dixon's design. Her name is Juanita. She has recently got back into the hobby after a long, like 20 or 25-year hiatus, and
Wow.
she just came right back in, and we all enjoy the heck out of her. But I was her first live stream too.
Okay.
So I like being the first one.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be fun. I like it. It's a lot more laid back than filming a video, editing it, all that, you know?
Yeah, you look comfortable. You don't look nervous or anything.
Yeah, it's fun. I was a little nervous, I'll be honest. I was excited to do it, and I knew that it would be laid back and fun to do, but I was still slightly nervous.
Yeah, it happens. So what are your goals for? So why did you want to start a YouTube channel on the fish keeping hobby? What's your goals by doing this? Your what you want? How far do you want it to go?
Well, so that's changed several times in 5 months. So, if I'm being honest, the only reason I started a YouTube channel was because my husband was like, "You should do a YouTube channel about your fish tanks. You know, you've had them for years, and some people make a lot of money off YouTube."
Mm-hmm.
And I'm kind of a Debbie Downer. I was like, "Oh, I doubt I'll make money off YouTube, and I don't really know what value I would bring to the table, right?" And I had just started my natural fish tanks. Like, I had fish tanks for years, but I just kind of kept them the conventional way.
Yeah.
I didn't really know how to do planted tanks. I had a lot of plastic plants, just not the ideal fish tank for me. And I was just learning about the like natural tanks. And so he had already been telling me that I should do a YouTube channel. So I was like, okay, I'll start one, and it will just be about setting up natural tanks. And while that is a big part of my YouTube channel, um, you know, I realized I can kind of do anything that I want within the hobby, and the right people will find my channel. So now I'm not so focused on only posting content about natural tanks. Most of my tanks are natural, not all of them are though. Um, like my axolotl tank doesn't even have sand in it yet. I plan on adding sand, but it won't be like I won't have dirt on the bottom because I'm afraid she'll dig it up. So it will just be sand. So, you know, with stuff like that, I change things up a little. My goal long term is to be able to monetize off of my videos and to just provide a lot of value to people within the fish keeping community. I'm actually doing I won't say too much about it, but I'm doing somewhat of an experiment. And I'll be talking about that later this week, actually, not on a live. I will have a video out later this week on an experiment I'm doing with betta fish because I've had them for years, and I'm like, you know, I think like everyone keeps betta fish the same way, and it's not how they were. That's not how they function in the wild, right? So I'm kind of experimenting a little bit here and there, doing a lot of research, and that's going to be something else. A direction I take my channel is just digging into betta fish more.
Yeah.
Also learning about axolotls and helping with that, and raising awareness about proper goldfish care. I feel like a lot of people, betta fish and goldfish are super common, but there's not a lot of information out there about how to properly care for them. So,
Yes. Goldfish or tanks. But before I get into that, I do have a question for you up there.
yes, yeah, I seen that. They asked, will you talk about beta eye issues and the causes? Right. So I've had a few issues with my beta's eyes. So if they start growing scales over their eyes, there's not really anything you can do about that. That's just a genetic sort of deformity that they have. There are certain betas that are more prone to it than others. However, if they get like pop eye, that is an infection, like a bacterial infection, And what I would do is like a 50% water change, add aquarium salt, add some almond leaves or like catappa leaves to the tank, add some tannins, and that should clear up. Also add a heater. Betas are more prone to infections when they're stressed out and uncomfortable, which is typically like if the water is not clean enough or if the water is not warm enough for them.
I've never had any issues with the betas that I had eyes. And if I find that the best driftwood for your tannins is Mopani. I mean, I don't think you can stop tannins coming out of Mopani driftwood.
I don't know if I've had Mopani yet. Most of mine is spiderwood, and then I have some. It starts with an M as well, but I don't remember what it's called. I always forget the name of it. But it's what I have in my 40-gallon tank, the big
Manzanita?
Yes, Manzanita. Yeah, I don't know why I can never remember it.
Yeah, I'm like that with fish. Like, I don't know all these fish terms. Like, some of these guys on here can rattle off all the cichlid terms, their actual scientific names, and I'm going, what, you mean the blue one?
Yeah, yep.
Hey, Danikin, thanks for coming in. Appreciate you. Yeah, I've never had any problems with the eyes. In the 20-gallon long, I do have a lot of tannins going in for that one now because it has antibacterial properties. Now, I did try that Fritz Nature Box. I'm not impressed with that. Have you ever tried that?
Okay. I haven't. No. What is it?
So,
is it like medication or?
No, the Fritz Nature Box comes with Indian almond leaves. It comes with some like wood bark things and like pine cones, and it adds different types of tannins to the water, but it wears off so fast that you would have to keep buying it and buying it and buying it. You're much better off just getting something like Mopani or a driftwood that's going to leach that in there for years. And I think Fritz even makes a liquid bottle of tannins you can buy and just squirt in your tank. But again, buying. I wasn't impressed at all with that Fritz Nature Box, specifically designed for fish like betas and brackish, dark waters.
Yeah, I think it really depends on what you like. I don't like my water to be dark all the time. I like there to be some tannins in there. And if I want there to be extra tannins, like let's say my beta fish's fin got ripped or something, I'll just add an almond leaf or two in there. Or let's say my water's getting hard, but I don't want the water to be immediately brown, I'll just add a couple of catappa leaves in the tank to slowly soften it. That way it's not just my tank isn't brown all the time. I have had a piece of driftwood. It was a larger piece. Maybe it was Mopani. It was years ago. But yeah, it leached for years. And I had a hard time keeping my water not just brown all the time.
Yeah, like dark, like to a point you can't see the fish. I have boiled. I have let soak for months and rinse and months and pressure washed and everything. And it's still coming out.
Yeah.
What was I going to add? Oh, so the tannins. And it's said to have the antibacterial properties in it. And you said you've used it to heal your beta's fins. Does it work? And if so, how long does it take to actually start healing those fins?
So what I use it for, it's not necessarily to heal the fins. It's more to help the beta fish not be stressed out and to also prevent infection while the fins are healing.
And it does the job?
Yeah. Yeah, I would say it's more effective than medication. And some of the medication can be harmful to their labyrinth organ. I've actually accidentally killed a beta fish by using a medication that was for fungal infections, not realizing that it would collapse the beta fish's labyrinth organ.
What medicine was that?
I think it was Pimafix.
Pimafix.
Yeah, so it was something with fix on the end. It was either Pimafix or a different one. Both of them were for treating fungal infections, though. And I had it in the tank, and I diluted it like half of what was recommended, even. And it still got him. And so I learned my lesson that way. Typically, if I know that, like, let's say you're breeding beta fish, and you know that most likely one or the other is going to get some fin damage, I'll have a tank already set up with catappa leaves in it so that as soon as that beta fish can be removed, and it can just go immediately into this tank with like aquarium salt and catappa leaves, just so that an infection never sets in the first place.
So you keep on hand a spare tank for like a hospital tank or QT tank.
Or just not necessarily a hospital tank. It will be a tank that's fully set up for plants and everything. Like it'll have other fish in it, even
Oh,
like small schooling fish, right? But because the catawba leaves and the aquarium salt can be added into a planted tank, I don't need to have like a completely separate tank for that, you know. I just read Master Aquatics. You assassinated a beta with medication. So typical. Meds do more harm than good, especially if the fish is an addict. Well,
that's Eduardo. You'll have to get used to him. It's funny you say it because I don't know if you've ever came across Dan Everyday Fish Keeping's channel.
I
He
haven't.
he actually, I think Hemofix was one of the medicines he was talking about never using. He hates it because it's killed more of his fish than anything. When it comes to medication, I'm all about doing the salt first. First of line, let's see if we can treat this stuff with salt. If that doesn't work and the disease or the illness becomes increasingly bad, then I go to the medications. But salt always first, absolutely, and it goes hand in hand with what he's saying. If we don't need medications, let's not do it. Second, that's the second line thing.
Yep.
But that was the next thing I was going to ask you. How does the salt, the aquarium salt, compare to your tannins, and your way that you do it?
So I just typically do both. I just add them both in the tank, and I don't measure anything. I just sprinkle it in there, put the fish in. Or if the fish is already in the tank, I just sprinkle some salt in and add the tannins. So.
Okay. Janice, actually, driftwood will help lower pH, and usually tannins comes out of your wood, so I'm pretty sure tannins lowers pH. What do you think?
So people are probably going to be upset at me for this, but I don't ever test my water parameters, hardly ever. I will occasionally if I think it needs to happen, but I don't even know what the pH is in most of my tanks. I don't know how much tannins I would need. I kind of just look at the tank. If there's getting hard water rings at the top from evaporation and stuff, I'll just start adding some leaves, some alder cones. I don't ever just add like brown water, like tannin water into my tank. I just add in stuff that slowly releases, so nothing changes instantly, you know.
Yeah.
And that will just slowly bring down like the general hardness and pH and stuff. So.
Well, recently I was doing a maintenance stream. This is off subject a little bit. But I was doing a maintenance stream in my community tank, and I came across some angelfish eggs, which is great because the last time it happened, I got a big pleco in there that destroyed them, and they never tried again. Well, these new ones laid eggs, and that got my daughter all hyped up. So she goes, if she ever wants to be in fish tanks, she's going to start breeding.
Yes.
I'm watching them. I pulled them out and they're on the Amazon leaf. I got a guy coaching me through it because I'm not a breeder. I've never done this process, but he's helped me through it. So hopefully they'll hatch.
Hopefully. That would be awesome.
Yeah. I like free fish.
Yeah. I feel like there's such a great reward with breeding fish. That's part of why I love live bears, because they're so easy. And you get to see baby fish, and I don't know. I just love looking into my fish tanks and seeing like little babies swimming around. Pretty cute.
Absolutely. The only thing Top says the only thing I've cured is ick. Everything else seems to be a death sentence. Now, I have cured a lot of different diseases with medicines, with salts, but I stick, and I put a video out on this. If you're going to have a medication, right, most of the diseases and illnesses we come down to in our at-home aquariums is basically a set of just so many, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have your fungal, your bacterial, what am I missing?
Parasitic.
Parasite.
Which would be what ick is.
Right. And basically, though, and from what I understand, most of the diseases we get at home are gram-negative diseases. So you're going to need gram-negative medications. Now, I understand that there's other ones that can come across and things like that. Just less well, like our diseases as humans, you can get different strains of things. But 9 times out of 10, the medicines that everybody sells does the same thing. It's just in different doses, right? So I
Mhm.
have familiarized myself with API medications. I love their powder medications. They've always done me well over the years. I am one of them people that QT all my new fish. When they come in here, they go to a quarantine tank that's fully cycled. I can instant cycle it with some spare sponge filters I keep running all the time. So I can fill it up, put that thing in there, but I do check it and I make sure there are nitrates, there's no ammonia and all that before they go in. And that's where they hang out for 2-3 weeks. And I do medicate them with the API med trio, and that's general cure erythromycin. I don't always put in ICX. That is part of that trio. But if they clearly don't have ICX, I'm not for treating them if they don't have it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If I don't see it, I don't treat them. So they'll get the general cure and the erythromycin. And I just go through that and let them stew in that for a little bit. And that has always served me very well because sometimes these fish might not have something you can see. It's not always visible. And I don't want to transfer that to my display tanks and take out and have a major issue on my hands. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I typically wouldn't quarantine my fish, but I had really small tanks, and I would typically just add like one little school of fish to that tank. And just recently, I had a goldfish die. I rescued a goldfish. He looked stressed, but relatively healthy. And I put him in with another goldfish, and within days, both of them were dead. And I have no idea what took them. My best guess was a parasite because they kept eating, but they were getting skinnier, and it killed him pretty quickly. And so after that, I was like, okay, nope, I'm not. Like, I'll be quarantined, especially for the larger tanks. You know, if the tank is basically empty and you put a few fish in there, that's not too big of a deal. But when you have like a big display tank, you don't want to take any chances.
Right. And Eduardo agrees with you when you that I'm assuming that's too when you say you don't really test your tanks. And obviously, if your fish are swimming around, they're happy, they're healthy, they're eating, they're
Yeah.
energetic, then your water's fine. Why test it?
Yeah.
When they start pacing up and down the glass or they're sitting all lethargic at the substrate and not going anywhere, the fish will let you know when there's a problem.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. In fact, just recently, I had a tank where I couldn't get. I still am dealing with issues with it. It's just one of those problem tanks. You know, most of my tanks are doing great, but that one tank is giving me some issues. And I was just like, I'm not sure what's going on with it. It had a lot of algae, so I added a sweet potato to it. The fish were healthy though, so I wasn't being aggressive with it. I added a sweet potato, and the algae pretty much stopped growing. The sweet potato was growing like crazy. And then in a little bit, the fish were acting strange, and the water just smelled odd. Like it was a smell I'd never smelled before. It wasn't ammonia, it was something else, and it smelled odd. And I was like, that's weird. I'll do a water change on it later today. I went and met with a friend and got back. And some of like all of my shrimp were up at the top, like gasping for air. They looked like they were about to die. And I was like, whoa, okay. So I did a big water change and realized my sweet potato was rotting. And it was a good deal. I caught it as soon as I did because it had just started like a few days prior to that. And so, yeah, really, if you just watch your fish, they'll let you know. And none of the shrimp died. I did a big water change, removed the sweet potato, and the tank's all good now. The shrimp are fine. But yeah, you do got to be careful with stuff and watch your fish closely.
Yeah, absolutely. Now that didn't take long though. When you added that in, it started to be a problem, huh?
Yeah. Well, it didn't rot right off. I had it in there for about a month. And then I had noticed like a few days prior to that, the tank was like, I was like, something's off with the tank. I'm not sure, but the fish were still swimming around. So I was like, I'm just going to give it a few days, see like what happens. And yeah, it was the potato rotting. And that was what I was smelling. I was like, that is an odd smell for a fish tank. I should have looked into it sooner. Thankfully, I didn't lose any fish, but.
Yeah. Eduardo says the fishies are able to call 911 if only they knew the number. But getting back to the goldfish thing, we started on goldfish back there. In my experience, I find that the regular goldfish, they're pretty hardy. But when you start
Yeah.
getting into fancy goldfish, because of the way they're designed, they're stubby, right? And I did a lot of research on this, and I got a few videos on goldfish.
Oh, I'll have to
Because,
go watch them.
because they're all scrunched up, their organs are all pushed together, and that's just why they're more
Yeah.
susceptible to things like bloat and dropsy.
Mm-hmm.
For years, I tried everything, the peas, the garlic, um, all this stuff, and it just never seemed to work. And everyone's, yeah, dropsy's hard to beat. Then I started doing 30-minute Epsom salt baths daily until I'm gonna tell you what fixes it every time. I
That's
have
good to know.
where they were pine coning and everything. I would give them 30
Yeah.
minutes Epsom salt baths daily, and right back to normal, good to go.
Mm.
But you got to take them out of a bucket. You use 1 tablespoon of Epsom salt per gallon of water, and then you just set a timer and let them go. And I put an air stone in with them. Because
Yeah.
when you're adding salt, it depletes oxygen. Exactly, Mr. Lisa. The fish will demonstrate if they need help. They know how to call the ASPCA if you don't listen to them.
Yes, yeah. Once you are familiar with the behavior of fish, and each fish is different, right? So you have to keep that type of fish for a while and know what's normal behavior for them and what's not. And once you're familiar with them and the tank, you can spot abnormalities pretty quickly. I feel like. I also smell my water on a regular basis. Like if I think anything looks off, I smell it. I know that sounds weird, but if it smells a little different, I'll maybe do a water change or top the tank off, like add fresh water, something, and just watch it. But
absolutely, I mean, it's one of our senses that help us identify things, and it actually works. For some reason, in this 75-gallon Dempsey tank, I have him in there with a common pleco. He'll be moving up, and once he starts getting bigger, but for some reason, when I open that aquarium, it's like, man, it stinks. What's up? So
yeah.
I got to poking around. I did water changes Sunday, and I was aware of this, but I'm a big believer in less is best in this hobby. The more you mess, the more you clean, the more issues you have. So most of the time, I'm just pulling water out and putting water in, right? Well, I think I did that long enough with this tank. I moved the driftwood, and I could see a lot of, crap, uneaten food, detritus in there. So I got that all cleaned out. It was actually stuck to the driftwood. So I kind of vacuumed all that off and got that all cleaned off and put it back down, did the water change, and we'll see. We'll see if that gets, because if your tank smells, it shouldn't.
Yeah, it shouldn't smell.
So it definitely lets you know something's up.
Yep. It's hard once you get a fish room and you walk into it and you smell something's off, then you have to go smell every single one of your fish tanks. You're like, which tank smells weird?
Yeah, what stinks. There's another question for you. You answered this earlier. But
how long have you been fish keeping and how many tanks do you have? So I've been keeping fish for close to 7 years. This summer will be 7 years. And I think I have 13 tanks now. But some of them are small. Like 3 of them are 3-gallon tanks for shrimp. I have my biggest is a 40-gallon right now, so I don't have very big tanks. But yeah. Thanks for asking the question.
that's all right. My goal, like right now, like I said, I have 12 tanks. I'm happy with the fish I have. I'm happy with the size tanks. Probably my favorite size tank is a 125, even over the 180s. I just love the footprint of them, and they're still manageable for 2 people, right?
Wow, that's a big tank compared to what I keep.
Yeah. There's only one more aquarium that I want to get, and that's going to be my monster tank, and it'll be the last aquarium I ever get. But I'm talking like anywhere from 500 gallons and up. I'm being because I want an arowana.
Wow. That would be awesome.
Yeah. Or, I thought about doing one of them plywood tanks, but by the time it's still cheaper. I'm not going to say it's cheaper than buying an aquarium, because by the time that pond shield they use to line them plywood aquariums when they make them, the glass is very expensive. Even if you're doing one viewing panel, you need like 3/4 inch glass. That's 8-10 foot long, very expensive. By the time you're done building a plywood tank, I see them all the time. I'm always looking on the Facebook market site. I can get a 500-gallon aquarium right now for $1,500 if I wanted to drive to get it. Why would I build one for more expensive cost? You know what I mean?
Yeah. And you might even be able to find one on like Marketplace that's way cheaper, right? As long
Oh,
as you could maybe resell it if it was older or something, but I bet you could find one cheap on there. I've seen some really large tanks that people are getting rid of for cheap.
yeah. You just got to be patient, and that's what I'm doing, and that's my plan when I'm ready for it. So, here's a fan of yours up here that came.
Hi, Patty. Yeah, I'm a fan of his. He's been in the hobby longer than me. I've learned some things from his videos.
Me and him became friends. We got each other's numbers. We text each other here and there. We call each other from time to time. I don't know if you saw this.
I did see that. I was trying to get his joke, like what the pun was, but yeah, I seen it.
3 gallons. So your shrimp are small and your tank's small.
Yeah, so yeah, there was no pun intended because I didn't even get what you were talking about when you said pun.
It's funny. Everybody else has any more questions for Talisa, feel free to ask. We're just talking and hanging out and getting to know her. And so you plan on doing the YouTube thing for a while?
Yeah, I would love to do it for the foreseeable future, honestly. I would love to do it my entire life. Obviously things change though. We'll see, but for now I would love to. I told my husband, I was like, if I could make enough money off YouTube where I just have someone follow me around with a camera, that would be great. I love filming the videos, talking, but all the editing and everything, I'm not a fan of that.
See,
So,
I enjoy that. I like doing
oh
it.
really?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I enjoy making the videos, but I got a sneeze coming. Maybe if I mention it and you're looking at me, it'll stop. Yep, we've canceled it. So I've been asked that question on other channels when they had me up, and one of the questions is, how do you feel? Do you feel making a YouTube channel has um, benefited your hobby? And I would have answered that with, since I started my channel, I had a lot more networking. I met a lot of people. Everyone in here I've become friends with, and I've learned so much off of them. So it has done nothing but increase my knowledge, make me a more well-rounded fish keeper. And so for me, it's just creating this YouTube channel alone has drastically made me a better fish keeper.
Absolutely. I would say the same thing. I've posted videos and I'll be like, I don't know what's going on in this tank. And people will comment, like, I think it's this, I think it's that. And typically they're right. I've learned a lot just from people commenting on my videos. And yes, I've started networking. I am subscribed to people that I learn a lot from just because I got more serious about the hobby. I just found a lot of people on YouTube and have just learned so much. It's been great.
Good, good. So good. It's been a great experience with you. So for you so far.
Yes, it has been. I would say it's much better than Instagram and Facebook. So I've had Instagram for years. I have a lot more followers on Instagram than I do subscribers on YouTube. And there are some mean people on Instagram. There are some crazy people on Instagram too. And overall, it's a nice community, but not as good as YouTube. I feel like because YouTube, the entire app is just designed for learning and just learning new things, right? A lot of people are like-minded on that. They're not going to attack you because you're doing something different. They're more going to be like, oh, that's really interesting. I want to see how this plays out, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. To answer that quick, Eduardo, I don't really have a dream fish, but if I was to have one, I would really want is one of those Asian arowanas like the King of DIY has. I have never really focused on betas for anything other than just keeping them. And he's not 21, by the way. He's like in his 60s.
I can see his profile picture. Yeah, he's not 21.
Eduardo is super fun, man. He's always the life of the party. Hey, June, appreciate you coming in. Have you ever met June?
I've not, no.
So she has like 135 Oscars.
Wow.
She's got some big tanks. She's been doing this a long time, and she's super nice and super fun. You gotta, check her out too.
Okay. What was her YouTube handle? I didn't see what it was.
We got moderators in here, Eduardo, Janice. Any of these guys can put her link up in the chat room. But if you just go into YouTube and type in only Oscars, she comes right up.
Oh, okay. Only Oscars. Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
Yeah, just type that in. She'll come right up.
Okay.
Oh, so that question he asked me was actually for you.
Oh, dreamfish.
But he put,
yeah, about the dreamfish.
But he put you, so.
What is my dream fish? I don't know if I have a dream fish as much as like a dream fish tank. I love the huge planted tanks. I don't know. I don't have a favorite fish, really. I would say all the fish I have currently are my favorite. I'm really loyal and I don't like change. And so once I get a fish, I just stick with it. And people are like, you're so basic. You need to try out new fish. I'll try out something new. And I like that too. And then I just end up with too many fish tanks, honestly. But no, I don't have a dream fish. I really like fancy goldfish, and I follow Luke's Goldies on YouTube. I've followed him for years. I've learned a lot about keeping fancy goldfish from him, and I just bought baby goldfish from him, and I would love to see those get really big and nice like his goldfish. So that would be awesome. That would, in a sense, be like my dream fish if I could grow out a goldfish the way he does. He grows them really well.
I seen that video that you did on those goldfish.
Yes, yeah, they're getting chunky. They're growing quickly, so I'm excited about it.
I guess my wife just came up to me and said we actually have a tornado on the ground east of us.
Oh, do you need to go in the basement or is it?
I don't have a basement, lady.
Oh, okay.
North Carolina, slab. They don't have. There are some houses that have basements here, but most of them don't. Like Florida, there are like very rarely there's some houses with basements, but the water table is so low, so close to the surface, you can't do it. It's sand.
So do you just so when there's a tornado watch, what do you do?
They tell us to just go into. They just tell us to go into the innermost room in the house that's in the center of the house as possible, where you're surrounded by as much walls as possible. So for us, that would be our main bathroom.
Okay.
And that's all you can do now. But yeah, we really don't get a lot of. I'm not going to say that because I'm actually from Pennsylvania. I was born and raised there. We moved down here 7 years ago, and when we first moved down here in 2016, it was one hurricane after the other there for a while. Matthew. Mm-hmm. Florence, and I can't remember the other one, but we had a tornado last summer. Wasn't far from us, but we never got anything, but a little bit of wind and rain. But I guess this one's a little closer. But this is Jungle Jim too. I met him, another good guy. Janice is also good. Now, do you plan on doing live?
Hi, Jim.
You know Jim? You talking about Jim's Fish, or are you talking about Jungle Jim?
Jungle Jim, sorry.
You know Jungle Jim?
Yes, yeah, I'm a subscriber of his.
Very cool. My dream tank would be a tank between two rooms. Yeah, same, Jim. Yeah. That's something I've always wanted to do is have a wall tank. And price tagged. Earlier, he did 2 of them in the wall.
2, wow.
That's where when he live streams, those 2 tanks in the wall are his backdrop.
Okay, that's neat. Yeah, I told my husband if we ever do our own build, we build our own house, I want built-in tanks. That would be awesome.
Yeah, but you can do it even on a load-bearing wall. You can do it, from what I understand. Mm-hmm. Just that back of the tank's got to hang out somewhere. So if I was going to do it, I would have to do it like on this wall in my living room, so that end of the tank would actually be in my garage.
Oh, yeah. Then you can see into your garage. That wouldn't be very ideal.
Well, no, because I always paint the back of my tanks black.
Oh, okay. So do you like the black background, or have you noticed that there's a lot of glare off the tank when it has a black background?
always do the Krylon Fusion spray paint. And I love it. It makes everything pop. It makes all the plants pop, the colors in the fish. Now, there for a while, I seen a lot of people doing the blue background, and I hated that for
Mhm.
years. But since I've been in the fish fam and on here, I'm seeing them more often, and I'm actually looking at them like, man, that actually looks really nice.
Yeah.
The blue background. But my favorite is black. Now, when I got this 125-gallon goldfish tank, that tank came with one of those roll-on backgrounds that looks like, you might have seen it in my videos. It looks like fake plants in the background. I just
I
left
think
it on there.
so.
I left it on there for something different, and it looks nice. Breaks it up,
Yeah.
something different.
Yeah. I have two tanks that I painted the background black, and the one which is next to a window, so that doesn't help. But whenever I try to film in it, it's already darker, and I feel like the black background makes it darker. So then when I'm filming, the light just bounces off it that much worse.
Mhm.
And so I don't know if I'll do that again unless it's somewhere that there's like no windows. But
That one thing I will say about it is like I've got a couple of those black Ascara angelfish with the red eyes in that tank, and when they're back there, you cannot see them.
mm,
The back of one of my tanks is actually in a bar back in Clearwater, Florida. I was going to bring it back here, but the bar owner fell in love with it, and so he has a setup. That's cool.
that's funny.
He has so Jim has blue, yeah, and black. But
He says the blue shows everything. Do you just mean that the blue like shows algae and like specks on the glass? Or I would be curious because I've thought about painting the back of my tank blue, at least one of them, and just seeing. But I don't know. I feel like I plant my tanks heavily enough that once the plants are all filled in, there's really no need for a background. But I don't know. That's just me.
um, what was I going to say? Shoot, I've been 3 times this week. This has happened to me. I was going to say something, and it just leaves my brain. Oh, one thing you could do is if you wanted to test it out, don't paint it. Just go get some like blue poster board, or you could just like go to, if you wanted to spend a little bit of the money, go get the blue roll up stuff you can get at PetSmart to just put it on there and see if you like it uh,
Yeah,
before you go painting it.
true. Yeah, once you're painted, it's kind of a done deal.
On this 110-gallon, I so under my Oscar tank, I cut out and put 2 10-gallons in that, and they look built into that tank, right? Kind of like we were talking about with the wall, just underneath the 125 Oscar tank. On
Yeah.
the left one that has the female beta, I got, the how you can go to get those garage sale signs, and they have like that white squishy, and it's like air in between. I don't know the name of it. Generally, you see it on
I
the
don't.
signs. I put one of them behind it to brighten it up because the black was too dark, and it really did brighten that tank up.
Oh, the sign. You put the sign. Okay, like a board, poster
It's that,
board or something.
it's like that white,
Yeah.
and it's got lines all through it. So, like if you ran your fingernail
Mhm.
across it, it would make that ribbing noise. And
Yeah.
it's squishy. You can squeeze it. Usually, you see them as like garage sale signs, and then you can put your little garage sale sign over it. I put one of them
Yeah.
there, and it really brightened that tank up because the black was too dark, and you couldn't see that fish. And since I put it back there, you can really see that beta fish now.
Mm. Yeah, I've used that as like dividers in between my tanks, so that the beta fish couldn't see each other. I've done that some, but oh, he says yeah, the algae is what shows on the blue background. Okay,
Okay.
good to know.
Now, have you ever had a tank, one tank for like a 20-gallon long, and split it in half for 2 betas?
No, I haven't. I did it with a 10-gallon tank. I got a divider and put it in there. I'm not a fan of using dividers with beta fish. That was years ago. And unless you can find one that sits real flush with the tank, sometimes those beta fish figure out how to get in between there, especially if you adopt them when they're little. They're not full grown and they just wedge through, and you could they could be fighting and damaging each other's fins, and just the constant stress of them seeing each other between the divider. I'm just not a fan, really.
So I had to do it, and I had a 20-gallon, and because there was 2 betas I rescued, and I didn't have a space for them at the time, so I took
Yeah.
a 20-gallon. If you ever need to do that and you want to do it, the one you want to go with, it's called the Life with Pets tank divider. I don't know if you've ever heard of it.
I've seen it. Yeah, I've seen their divider.
You can get the one with holes, or you can make it solid so they can't see each other. But let me tell you, that thing fits perfect. Like, it's so perfect. Plus, it comes with these plastic edges that you can adjust to make up for that gap.
Okay.
And then you clip on these 2, the inside lip where a glass top would sit on the trim of a tank. It comes with those plastic tabs you slide on there to help hold it in place. And I'm telling you, it fits so good that when you close your lid, it just touches the glass lid too. It's all the way around. They're perfect, and they don't harbor any mold. I got one. I could show it to you. I did a video on it. Them things are fantastic. Those crappy ones they sell in a pet store, you can burn. Them things are terrible.
Yeah, I had bought it from a pet store, and it was just like the white mesh screen.
Rolled up.
Yep.
It's about possible to keep it unflat. You're like,
yep.
I hate those things with a passion. Siamese LGs are great for blue. Now, this is what I want to get right here. It's funny you said that. I need to go get myself about 30 of them bad boys to just help do some cleanup.
So I've watched a video that said they get super big and obnoxious, and they kind of stop eating algae, and they kind of boss the fish around. Is that true? What's your experience with them?
So are you sure you're not getting confused with Chinese versus Siamese algae eaters? Because the Chinese,
maybe it was Chinese.
I don't
remember.
Chinese algae eaters are the ones you don't want. They got the attitude. They get bigger. Siamese actually do really well, and they don't get as big.
Okay, gotcha. Was it the Chinese algae eaters or the Siamese that do really well with blackbeard algae?
I eat blackbeard Siamese, and that's a big reason why I want them, because I heard they actually do good. But I've never owned them, so I don't know. But I could use some. I like blackbeard algae. It's good for your aquarium. However, it gets stuck on everything, and once it's on there, you're not getting it off.
Yeah, I've never had blackbeard algae until just recently. One of my sword plants has just a tinge of it. And so I'm like, oh, okay, well, I guess I get to experience, see what it's like, So we'll see what happens with that. I thought about getting some Siamese algae eaters, but I didn't want them to, outgrow the tank. But if they stay small, then that shouldn't be an issue.
Yeah, I don't think the Siamese get any more than 6 inches or 5 inches. And right here, Eduardo, he said Chinese, they're the worst. And he has 6 of the Siamese.
Yeah. So I seen a comment. It's not pulled up right now, but only Oscars had commented. Oh, right there. She says, I always want the smallest Oscar to start. I can get them early with plants. And I'm curious to know if she keeps them with plants as they get bigger. That's what I try to do with my goldfish. Is I've always just gotten them as babies, and I keep them in planted tanks. And then I keep them with hardier plants as well, so they can't really eat them anyway. But I'm curious. I've always just heard everyone say the Oscars destroy all the plants.
They do, and I actually asked. I went to June for just this advice that you're asking right now. I'll let her answer it, but because I had jungle vow in this tank, and the aquarium looks so much nicer than it is now, and I'd love to plant it. And they were babies when I got them, but they didn't grow up with the plants, and they just completely destroyed it. She told me that if you have the plants in there when they're babies and grow up with it, they'll be fine. And it's always been good in her experience.
She says, yeah, they still have plants in the tanks. That's great.
Now, with my fancy goldfish tank, I was able to successfully keep plants in with them.
Yeah.
It really didn't bother it. But the blackbeard algae has completely covered them, and it looks like pure crap in there now. It looks like a desolate river apocalyptic scene or something.
Oh, that's always discouraging when that happens.
It is. So I'm hoping I want to go to the store and get 2 massive bags of Siamese algae eaters and just put 8 of them and 10 of them in every tank.
There you go.
Yeah. Do you know Depths Unknown? You ever come across him?
Huh, I don't know him.
He goes live every 9 o'clock in the morning on Sundays. He's been doing this a long time, and his name is Jason. And I tell you what, he has blackbeard algae. He loves it. And one time I
Mm.
was live streaming, I said, "Hey, Depths, that is a nice free 3D background you got there," because it was just layers of blackbeard algae. I will let my algae grow on the back glass of my tank. Algae is good for your aquariums,
Hmm.
but I will take it off the sides and the front. But I just hate it when it gets on my plants, especially because I've taken plants out, laid them on this glass table with a razor blade, and tried scraping it off, and it still wouldn't come on.
That's crazy. Wow. So he uses the blackbeard algae, like he just keeps it in his tank and uses it to help clean the water then?
Well, yeah, because all algae is good for your aquarium, but they will outcompete your plants, so you got to keep
Yeah.
them in check. But yeah,
Yeah.
he likes it. And he got a ton of it. It's easy to grow. I mean, everybody has it. Like everywhere I look, I'm seeing it. Well, whether it's
Yeah.
a few tanks, it's every aquarium.
Hmm.
I've never bought fish online. I only bought fish online one time. That was from Live Aquaria, and they were mountain minnows.
Mm. Only Oscars. I've gone through hundreds to find the ones I don't kill. The water doesn't kill, and finally the Oscar don't kill. But I've had some success. I assume she's talking about plants. Um, yeah, there are some plants out there that are really hardy. That's pretty difficult for fish to eat. Some of my favorite would be like Anubias, sword plants. Crypts is another one that might. I don't know for Oscars. It might be kind of hard. Oscars might be able to eat crypts easily. I don't know, but.
I'll tell you another plant that's pretty hardy for that. Most fish don't like them, and it's actually about the only plant that I can keep in my 75-gallon Mbuna tank because I do naturally buffer the pH in that aquarium, and I do add the cichlid lake salt. We all know plants don't good with salt, right? But you know what? One plant is doing decent in there, and the Mbunas are herbivores, and they don't mess with it.
Mm,
Is the Java fern.
okay. So Java fern is hardy, but I'm not a fan of it because the large leaves turn brown and then you have all these little babies that you have to pull off of there and it's just all this maintenance. Like if you don't keep it maintained, it doesn't look very nice. So
You're
I do have it in some of my tanks, but I'm not a big fan of it.
and I never was at first, but I'm looking at that goldfish tank that's got all the Anubias covered in BBA. There is not one bit of blackbeard algae on that Java fern I'm looking at right now. And it's
Oh,
what I like about it is if a leaf breaks off, it'll start sprouting off the leaf.
yeah, yep.
But I do have a nice one that looks real nice in that 29-gallon that's growing pretty good. But you're right, they can be an ugly plant. Let me see. Uh,
Because
everyone,
Jason is just really bad at keeping his tanks without black-beard algae. It's a running joke.
look at them calling you Talisa. God, it's Talisa. Read the thumbnail, Eduardo. I mean, it's right here, right there. So let's see. Is there any questions that you have for anybody or some information you were looking for? We've got a lot of experienced fish keepers and long-time fish keepers in here. You're talking June going back to the 60s. Eduardo, I mean, he's got some very, very knowledgeable fish keepers. Jimmy P. So did you have any questions or information that you needed help with something?
Well, I do have a question for Patty, actually. So he just barely removed all the oxygen from his tanks. And I don't have oxygen in my tanks either, right? But I don't have lids on them. And he has lids on some of his. And I'm really curious to know if the tanks with lids and no oxygen in them, he's not doing water changes as far as I know. Like, are the fish doing great? Like, do the plants produce enough oxygen? Because I'm half tempted to put lids on my aquariums, at least some of them that don't have plants growing out the top. because I get so much water evaporation out of my tanks. It's crazy.
Yeah, and that's actually something I'd be interested in too. I don't know if Patty's still in here. I hope he is, but we'll see if he answers that question for sure. Because I've always been curious about that too. I just recently removed air from my 10-gallon shrimp tank, but
Yeah.
I've got an Amazon sword that's in a 10-gallon tank, taking
Yeah,
all
I've
the
seen-
room up. And there's also a Crips in there, Jungle Vow, and Water Sprite. So I know
Do
that
you have
there's,
a lid on it?
yes,
Okay.
and it does evaporate, and I got to top it off. But how many? Like, I guess that's a really good question because I've been curious about that too. How many plants? Let's go. Okay, we're gonna do this. You have a 55-gallon tank, and why I'm going with a 55-gallon tank is because that just seems like a tank that's everywhere. That's like
Mm-hmm.
they're everywhere because if that's your first big tank, that is a big tank, man. 55 gallons, right? When really to us it's not. But it was my first aquarium. So let's start with a 55.
Okay.
How many plants do you have to put in a 55-gallon tank to be the sole filtration and oxygen provider? Yeah, that's a good deal. I'm curious too.
Yeah. That's something I'm wondering about. So I have a small 3-gallon tank and I have a lid on it and the water never evaporates out hardly at all. Like I maybe top it off every month, maybe. But I keep a little filter in there, not because it needs filtration. There's just a few shrimp and some snails in there, but just because I'm afraid if I take it off, there won't be like enough water movement and like enough oxygen in the tank, you know? So I'm curious to see how that's going for him.
Okay.
But
Well, Swiffle made a good point here.
yeah, I said if water is evaporating, then you got air in your tank. Um,
So,
but if you put a lid on, then that prevents a lot of evaporation,
right.
right? So I'm wondering if, like, if the fish will become oxygen deprived, you know, if they'll drown essentially if you if you put a lid on, right? Because I don't have filters in most of my tanks. I just leave the lid off so that the water still can get some oxygen in it. But so Eduardo says, I'm not Patty, but I have several tanks with lids and some without lids. The heavily planted tanks do need lids. The oxygen is provided by the plants. The jumpers have lids, but again, I'm not Patty. So he says the heavily planted tanks do need lids.
Okay, but
I'm curious as to why they need lids. Is it just because the fish jump out or... But he did say the oxygen is provided by the plants, so that's good to know. Maybe I should just put a lid on one of my tanks and see how the fish respond.
I got glass lids on every one of my tanks just because
Okay.
it's peace of mind for me. Because some of these fish do jump. I have never had a fish jump out of my aquarium. No, I ain't gonna say that. It's been close with these mbunas come feeding time, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it just gives me peace of mind. It keeps things out. It stops evaporation, so you're not having to top your tanks off as much, and it keeps things in.
Yes. Yeah, I would have a lot less maintenance and my water would be a lot softer if I had lids on because right now my water is evaporating out so quickly that it gets hard quickly, right? I have to keep tannins in the water to keep it from getting a lot of like hard water around the edges. And the tanks, well, my one tank with a lid, it's never even gotten a ring of hard water because I suppose because there's less water evaporating out. But I'm also curious. So when water evaporates, does the general hardness of the water, like does the hardness stay inside the water? Does that not evaporate out? Kind of like salt doesn't evaporate out of, a saltwater tank, right? I
Right.
don't know if that's the case. I don't know.
I don't either. I'm learning about these heavily planted tanks. I mean, I've always had plants, but I'm with you. I got this 20-gallon long up here. It's packed full of plants. It's dirted, sand cap, right? But I do have a hang in the back filter running on it, just because when I set it up, it was murky from the sand that I put in there, and I was just using it to clear it up. But I'd love to go ahead and pop that bad boy off there, but I worry like it's gonna come my fish.
Yeah. Yep.
You might as
I
well
would
do-
love to be able to have a goldfish tank that has no filtration and no oxygen added to it. Like I would love to have enough plants in a goldfish tank that you don't even have to worry about water changes, filtration, nothing. And I know that sounds crazy, right? Like I'm not attempting that yet, but that's something I would love to do in the future with plants, basically where nature is maintaining goldfish, even though goldfish have produced so much waste.
Yeah, I think it's going to be tough to do with the goldfish tank. And I was actually on Father Stream's lot, one of his streams maybe a week or two ago, and I was joking around. I said, "Hey, I want to turn my 125-gallon Oscar tank into a Father Fish dirted tank. Have any ideas to do it?" And it was funny because he goes, "Yes, don't do it."
Yeah.
uh, Eduardo there, he came back with a rebuttal. He typed too fast. He meant to say that the tanks evaporate quickly have no lids, but if you have junk, you don't. Swiffle says,
Okay.
I took the lids off my sick tank outside, had a big Boona in it now. It's gone. Raccoon got it. Oh, man.
Oh no.
God, Lord.
That's sad.
He forgot about to put the lid on.
Mm.
June says 840 plants for a 240-gallon aquarium in order for the plants to maintain it itself.
Okay, so like I would love to see I'm not good at math, so I wonder how many plants you need per gallon of water to keep up with a fish that like produces a lot of waste.
Here's Greg's planted tank says, to me, planted equals at least one plant. Heavily planted, at least 70% of the substrate is covered.
Mm.
June would need 11,000 plants. She's got 300-gallon, 450 gallons tanks because she keeps Oscars, right? She's got a lot of big tanks.
11,000 plants. Wow. She should just start like a business selling plants for fish tanks.
Yeah.
Eduardo says another thing, if you have jungle val that covers the top of the tank of floaters, no lid needed. Add the evaporation is minimal in my 60 and 75. All fishies in them are tetras and angels. Um, yeah, so I do have a lot of floaters on my tanks, so that does help, right? But it's still there's still plenty of evaporation, especially now that it's starting to warm up.
What do you mean that's not what you said? You need 11,000 what then, June? Yeah, I've got water sprite is another one of my favorite plants, right? You can plant it, you can float it. I find it does better when you float it under high light and it grows faster than you can keep up with. But another thing, if you haven't tried it, betas love water sprite.
Mm. Is water sprite similar to guppy grass, or are they the same thing? Or
Now, it's a little different. It's I've got a ton of it on in my videos, but I have it. I got it once, and it's multiplied so fast. It's in every tank. It's a fast-growing tank, so it uptakes a lot of nutrients quickly. You can float it. Fish will breed in it. They hide in it. They can eat it. Um, um, and it's a very good plant to have for especially planted tanks, your natural planted tanks. I find betas.
Yeah.
I'll get a piece off and show you.
Okay. Yeah, I really like guppy grass for that. It does the same thing. It multiplies like crazy. The fish like laying in it. My shrimp love guppy grass.
So I hope you can see this.
Okay, so the leaves. Oh, I have some of that, and I was thinking it kind of looks like hornwort, right? Similar.
No, it does not look like. I know what you're talking about.
It's not as fluffy
It
as
and
hornwort.
right, and it has these like. I love this stuff, and it
It
floats.
looks pretty.
It is, and my beta loves. All my betas love sitting on it up by the surface, just hanging.
Yeah. I also like water lettuce because for my beta fish because it grows the long roots down, and my beta fish just go lay in them.
Yeah,
I'll have to get some water sprite and see how I like it. It looks similar to guppy grass. I really like those stem plants that grow so rapidly that just cover everything, but they still have the delicate leaves. So it still kind of looks pretty still, you know?
Yep. It's that and jungle vow are my two favorite plants. Now crips aren't growing on me, but jungle vow and water sprite, my two favorite.
Mm.
Easy to keep, easy to grow. You can bust them off and put them in other tanks, and they take off there.
Yeah.
Do you watch the Ben O chart?
Do I watch what?
Have you ever heard of Ben O chart?
No, I haven't.
He's one of the guys I follow. He's one of the little bit higher end channels. He's big into cichlids.
Okay.
I told him about water sprite through email, and he didn't know that he thought you had to plant it. He didn't know you could float it, and then he got some and he loves it now.
Yeah.
Let me see here. Let's get caught up on chat a little bit. June said you need less plants to take care of the nitrates. You need less plants to take care of nitrates. 20 plants removes all the algae from my 375 gallon. 20 plants. So
Wow.
so 20 plants is out. I heard algae will outcompete plants.
She must not have a lot of nutrients in her water column for the 20 plants, unless they're huge plants, right? Because, like, I have 20 plants easily over in a 20-gallon, and I still have algae growing in it. So.
Yeah. Oh, same here. That 29 gallon, I pulled that piece of water sprite out of. It's got tons of plants in it, and there's still. I gotta take. I like the best way to get algae off of plants is a toothbrush.
Yeah. Yep. I use a toothbrush as well for most of it.
Toothbrush is a must-have tool.
Yep.
Floaters help keeping the fish in the tanks, but evaporation will always happen, as in nature. Make it rain every other day to prevent the lower levels of water. Yep, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Ross Baltimore is supposed to be sending me some water lettuce. He said he was going to anyways. Hopefully he does, because that's something I was interested in trying. But if not,
Yeah.
What is the water sprite? It's a floating plant. You can put it in the substrate or float it. I find it does better when you float it under highlight. It's going to make so much water or give you so many plants. I've had to throw it away. Now, the only thing about water sprite I don't like is if you're using power heads in your aquariums like I do. I think June uses power heads. It is a messy plant. When it's in the high flow, pieces break off and they get stuck on your inlets. But it's a messy plant.
Kind of like duckweed.
And I have never put duckweed in my aquariums. And I'm glad I didn't after being on here and seeing so many videos about it. I hear it's a nightmare plant. If you leave one spore behind, it's coming back.
Yep. So when I first got into planted tanks, my tanks weren't that planted, but I would go buy like a little plant in those like plastic containers at Petco or PetSmart, right, and put it in my tank, and it would die pretty much every time. And everyone would comment how they hated duckweed. They could never get rid of it. It grew like crazy. And I'm like, maybe that's the one thing I can grow. So I went and got duckweed, and that died too.
Really?
I couldn't keep any plants alive because I knew nothing about caring for fish tanks. Like, I could keep my fish alive relatively well, but even then it was kind of sketchy. I just had small tanks with betta fish in them. And no, now I can keep most any plant alive in my aquarium unless it's just a really high maintenance plant. But yeah, I killed that too. But then once I got these planted aquariums set up better, I got some duckweed thinking, oh, we'll see if I can keep it alive this time. And now it is like covering the surface of every single one of my tanks. I'm not a fan of it.
Yeah. Now all your tanks are dirted, so you don't use any fertilizers, right?
Yeah, I don't use any fertilizers.
I've even messed around with. Excuse me, I'm playing with the lights a little bit. God, the cop showed up. I've messed around with fertilizers just to get some experience with them. I'm not a fan of the Seachem Flourish line. It doesn't do very good. Aquarium Co-op's Easy Green was okay, but it was Thrive. Thrive has done, it's one pump for 10 gallons of water. It has done okay, but nothing has done better than naturally in these natural dirt tanks. There isn't even
Mhm.
any algae in my natural tanks.
Yeah.
It's pristine. You've never seen, well, you have beautiful green lush plants, and I don't dose nothing in there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I do put pothos on top of my tanks too. I got a peace lily or two as well.
Yeah. I have like some bamboo, a peace lily, pothos. Trying to think if I have something else.
Wait, what did
I
you
think
say?
that's about it.
What did
But
you would you say? Say pothos?
um, pothos.
No.
So everyone says pothos,
Yeah.
and there's been multiple people that say no, it's pronounced pothos. You're pronouncing it wrong. At this point, it's like tomato, tomato. Just
Yeah, I was.
whatever.
It's like Patty. He's from where's?
Uh
Damn it! I messed with these lights and I can't get them right now.
oh.
Patty. He's from what? Jesus. Michigan. Where's he from? Sheboygan. Uh, where the Home Alone movie took place, the first one. John Candy was from. Where's Patty's Aquatics from? It's in his description on his channel.
Is it North Carolina?
No, he's from like Sheboygan, Wisconsin, or something like that.
Okay.
He said he's got that accent, like instead of roof, it's roof. Roots or roots.
Mm.
You ever hear
Yeah.
him?
See, I talk similar to that as well. That's funny, but I'm out in the West, not in the Midwest.
Okay. June says, I added plants one at a time. 20 plants later, no algae. They were big plants, no power heads. Okay, so she don't use power heads. Water less did a lot to keep the water evaporating in my goldfish stock pond. That's interesting. This is why I love these live streams and having people like yourself come up and everybody in chat. You learn, and this is what I'm talking about. This is why getting on here is so great. You learn so much more. See, I never would have thought having plants for some reason in my mind, even if you got a surface in your tank covered with aquarium plants, in my mind, I would have never thought that would reduce evaporation because you still got holes. It would not do what a lid would do, you know?
Well, if you have duckweed, there is no holes.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
it's like it's a blanket. And my water lettuce is starting to do the same thing. Like my water lettuce is actually outperforming my duckweed right now. It's growing like crazy. But yeah, it will have such a tight blanket of plants on the top that like in the wintertime it helps keep my tank warmer. Like the tanks with plants covering the top, they stay warmer for my betta fish.
Okay. Okay. And you do have heaters in there, you were saying earlier, right?
Yep. Yeah.
In the summertime, my house keeps all my tanks around 78 degrees.
Okay.
So I'm thinking, okay, cool. I can get rid of the heaters. So I took all my heaters out. I was talking to Brandon over at Cold Water Aquatics. He don't use heaters. So I was like, well, I'd love to not have the added electric bill and less to look at in the aquarium and worry about, right? Because heaters can fail.
Yeah.
So here comes winter, and I'm in North Carolina. You can get maybe 22 degrees here in the winter, which it's cold, but I'm from Pennsylvania. That ain't nothing, right? Well, my house won't maintain these tanks at 78 degrees in the winter, so I had to put the dang heaters back in.
Yeah. I think with my shrimp tanks, I wouldn't need heaters. I've watched other videos of shrimp keepers saying that they can actually do well in colder water as well as warmer water. But I've still kept the heaters in. I thought about taking them out and just seeing how the shrimp do. But
Yeah, I got a heater down there with them too. They doing okay. Did you see what Eduardo told you there?
he said the best place to get great plants is our fish family here on YouTube. We have some amazing plant growers and excellent advice from their rooted souls. So, is he just saying the community in general, or?
So there's a lot of us that do live streams and hang out that grow plants.
Okay.
Tommy Silver Creek Aquatic used to grow them. I actually bought some plants off him. He's where I got my first jungle val crypts and something else. But he doesn't really sell plants anymore. And I can't even think of all the people that do. There's just so many of them. And so the only experience I have was from Tommy. I don't know the quality of anybody else. They could definitely tell you if you're looking for plants for sure. The thing that makes me mad, Craig's that was in here earlier, Craig's Catfish Cave, he's from Australia. That jungle valve grows naturally there. He can literally go out and grab armfuls of it.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, I'm not looking for plants. My local fish store, while they're not super cheap to buy them from there, he has just about any type of plant I would ever want to buy. So that's really nice.
Yeah. Hey, Shamu. Appreciate you coming in. Shamu here. He's been keeping fish quite a long time. He has one tank, and it's a 240 gallon. And it, man, is it? You go to his channel and check him out. That tank is beautiful. He's done a very good job with that.
I'll have to remember to go check that out. So he only has one tank?
Yeah. Shamu.
Only one. Wow. He has more self-control than the rest of us here on this channel, most likely.
It's funny. He put a video out of it and taking it. He had to take a window out of his house to get it in, and then they had to replace the window when it was done. But they got that dang thing in there.
Wow.
Surf City says Talisa, June, and only Oscars and him are in West California. June up in the middle, and I'm in Orange County.
Okay. Yeah, I'm in Idaho, so I'm not as far west as them, but yeah.
That's why you put a potato in your fish tank.
Hey, but I will say it worked really well till it started rotting. Like that thing was growing so much every day. It was crazy. However, once it grows the vines, you can just pop those off the potato because the vines themselves will start growing roots. And you just pull those rooted vines off and keep those in the top of the tank and remove the potato. And so now I still have all the vines growing out of my tank and looking pretty without worrying about anything rotting.
Right. The girl that I bought this 125 off, I actually had her up on one of my live streams a while back. She's very, very knowledgeable fish keeper. That's what she did. She was doing the kind of aquaponics on the top of this thing. She was growing strawberries and potatoes out of the top of it and other things.
Yeah. I've never tried strawberries.
But
I wonder. Go ahead.
Here's my only thing with that. If you're doing a dirted tank, okay, but you're as conventional as you called it, your standard way of fish keeping where I have to put dechlorinator in. Do I really want to eat food that's soaking up prime, crap like that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Eduardo shared her link earlier, Shamu.
So my YouTube is just Talisa Aquarist. So if you look it up, just Talisa Aquarist, it should come up and you can see what I look like. So if you see me in the videos or on the thumbnails, yeah, that's my channel.
I don't mean to be rude. I'm making some people a moderator.
Oh, okay.
Are you able to type in chat? You're not able to, huh?
I can't see any of the comments. Oh, wait. No, let's see. There's a chat thing. Okay, so I can comment on the video. I can.
In the chat room?
Well, I can't see other people's chats, but it allows me to type in to add into the chat, I guess. I'm not sure how that works, but
I guess for StreamYard, there's this other thing you have to download in order to see chat. Some people have done it, but yeah, he doesn't have MTS. He has OBATS. One big ass tank. I've seen him saying that in comments. Take 50 gallons, fill a pool, 1/4 inch high, and a small tote 3 feet deep, which will evaporate faster. Surface area is a large component of evaporation. Right. Makes sense.
That makes sense.
Lids plants are always of limiting. Like I said, I got glass tops in every one of my aquariums. My I do leave. I used to cut that trim you get with them glass tops and cover the back and cut out for cords I just leave that go now.
Yeah.
Because I half the time I'm putting plants, pothos in there now and things like that. So it's like, my evaporation is minimal because of that. Now I will say I don't know what it is about a 29-gallon tank. I hate a 29-gallon tank. I have it, but it's running because I have it, right? I I just hate the footprint of a 29-gallon tank, and it by far evaporates faster than any tank I've ever had.
Really?
I don't know what it is.
Do you have a heat? Like, does the water temperature stay warmer than your other tanks? That could
Nope.
be it.
It's regulated at 78.
Hmm.
I'm a big fan of the old school thermometers. They work. They're cheap.
Yeah.
They last forever. Just don't put it in with an Oscar because they like banging them. Same with the glass heater. If you're going to have an Oscar, do not put anything but them new titanium heaters in there,
Hmm.
plastic ones, because they use them as toys. I had a one of them Fluval heaters in there, and I kept hearing this bang, bang, bang. And my big Oscar's over there like, I'm like, God, don't break that.
They sound kind of aggressive.
Oh, they're fun. I love them dang Oscar. They are. He's got attitude. Yeah, big time attitude. I tried to put a big pleco in there one time. They instantly went after him. I was like, Jesus, I had to take him back out.
Yeah. So with my big fish, I like to just have a smaller amount of large fish and then more schooling fish, because my larger fish or my more personable fish, they're like my pets. So I can only have so many pets and so many fish tanks, right? So
Mhm.
I think right now axolotls and goldfish are like the pets that I really like. And then beta fish, of course, they're smaller, but Oscar is just, they require a larger tank just like a goldfish would. And I think they would be a fun pet if I hadn't have discovered like axolotls or goldfish first. But now that I have axolotls and goldfish, I'll probably just kind of stick with those. But
Goldfish have some of the best personalities there are, and I did a lot of research on them, and I put a video on it because just a quick story, and then we'll get back to chat here and get caught up. And did you see what Juanita said here?
the Dixon Designs.
Yep.
Yeah, she said she's in central Idaho near Stanley, so she would probably be a few hours away from me. But
In other words, a potato was great until it wasn't.
yeah, exactly.
Shamu's in Orange County. He lives in California. That's where his Anaheim, Surf City subbed. How much longer do I have you for? I don't want you to go longer than you want to be on here.
I figured I could go, an hour and a half, 2 hours. I'll jump off here probably in about 15, 30 minutes, unless you're wanting to end it before then, just because I need to go make supper. I'm
No,
2 hours behind you. So, it's evening where you're at, but it's like late afternoon, early evening here. It's probably 5 o'clock here. I can't see the time on my phone right now, but
okay.
yeah,
It's 7:30 for me.
yeah.
Surf City sub to you. It looks like you have some nice videos with good production quality. Looking forward to watching it.
Thank you.
So I'll get into what I wanted to say about goldfish because something you might not know about them. And if I can remember all the facts, I'll try my best because that was a little while ago. But so quick story. When I first moved down here in 2016, Hurricane Matthew came in. The house we bought, we couldn't move into because it was flooded. That was near that Lumberton area that totally got flooded. We couldn't get to the house. So we had to stay with my in-laws, just a small town away for a while. Meanwhile, I got a 55-gallon aquarium overstocked with goldfish, by the way. They were feeder goldfish that I just kept because they actually had a lot of them had beautiful fins. I really enjoyed them. I love goldfish. They have great personalities. But so I had that 29-gallon set up with two smaller fancy goldfish in it, and there was two big cory cats in there. Long story short, we had to go to West Palm with my sister-in-law and stay for a week because out in the country, nothing around you but cornfields, right? That's where we were. You're the first to lose power, the last to get it on. So it was over a week until the power came on. Well, when I came back, I was expecting to see bad,
Yeah.
That 29-gallon, those fish died.
Oh.
And it was a stinky mess. Every one of those goldfish in that 55-gallon tank were alive.
It was overstocked.
It was overstocked with feeder goldfish. And So they didn't get fed, which was a good thing.
Yeah.
But no filter. Excuse me. No filter, no water movement, no oxygen, no gas getting out of the tank, right? And
Wow.
so all this time, it amazed me. Was time went on, and what I found out is goldfish are able to adapt to live in low oxygen environments. We all know that because you could put them in a pond, right? Certain ones. But what I found out is they have the ability to break down the carbohydrates in their bodies and turn them to like an alcohol. And alcohol is much easier to excrete out of your body than carbohydrates in low oxygen environments. So they can essentially turn ammonia to oxygen and still breathe. And it's something like that. I'm probably butchering it, but that explains to me why they were able to live. I mean, there had to be 25 goldfish in a 55-gallon tank with over a week, nothing running.
Wow.
You explain that to me.
Those common goldfish are really hardy.
They're tanks.
They're super hardy. Dixon's Designs had asked where I'm at in Idaho. I'm in Treasure Valley, Idaho. So I'm in the Treasure Valley area. I'll be moving, but I will be staying within the Treasure Valley area. So, yeah.
Very cool. I also have fancy goldie baby. Let me get through here because I know that you probably got to get going. Hopefully I'll be able to attend Coast. They're just chatting. Goldfish are amazing animals. They have survived 3 winters in my pond in New England. Oh, absolutely. And you talk about the best personalities. The only thing that I can say that's close in my personal experience to a goldfish, you might ask me why, but the blood parrot.
Those things are really pretty.
And they have attitude. Every time I stick my hand in there, they'll be like, I got a short out. You got to see it. They were attacking my python, my gravelback. But he'll go after me and go, and it doesn't hurt. It just feels like rubber.
Yeah.
But they got attitude. But they come up to you. They'll eat out of your hand. My Oscar eats out of my hand, but that can be dangerous. You ever watch an Oscar? You ever watch an Oscar this close to you yawn with his mouth fully open? See straight down in there. You can see teeth. They got teeth in their throats.
Oh. Yeah, I'm not super familiar with Oscars. My local fish store has like a big tank of huge Oscars in there. I think people probably just bring them to him. I don't know that, but it looks like it. It looks like people, when they outgrow their tank, they just bring them into him. But
that happens all too much. But at least they did that instead of throwing it in your local pond. But another quick thing. Lately, I've been finding that one bug parrot net, because I got a big, I think it's a snow king pleco, big common pleco in there. But he's really peaceful. He keeps to himself. That one blood parrot has enough attitude to pick. He's been picking on him lately. Like he won't leave him alone. He keeps going. I said, you are picking a fight with somebody you don't want.
Yeah.
But so that pleco, when he gets mad, he just kind of goes. He won't.
Plecos just push their way around the tank. They're kind of bullies, honestly.
Everybody gets out of their way.
Yep.
Hey, Shell, appreciate you coming in. That's a new name. Good to see you. Shamu, maybe my son and daughter, they're talking. Let's get down here. Hi, Shell. Hi, Shell. Surf City. Let's see, Jess. It was a pleasure listening to you, Miss Talisa. You too, Jesse. Thanks for the stream and have a great evening. Same to you, buddy.
Thanks for joining.
Yeah, appreciate all the questions and input and involvement. Seamus says, I got to stop missing the streams. They're always either at 6 a.m. my time or wow. Yeah, you're on the other side of the United States. That's why I've been doing 2 different ones. I want to catch different crowds. I do 9 a.m. Saturday mornings Eastern, and I do 6 p.m. Easterns on Tuesdays.
Yeah.
But that's it. I mean, if you need to get going, there's no pressure to stay. It was certainly appreciate you coming up and accepting my invite.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me. I really enjoyed it. I'm thinking about doing a live on my channel now, but maybe I should wait till I get more subscribers. I'm afraid of like going live and no one joining because I only have 1,000 subscribers.
No, actually, you moved up pretty fast. It took me just 3 months shy of 2 years to get 1,000 subscribers.
Okay.
You said you've been doing this for 5 months and you're over 1K now, right?
Yeah, I'm at like 1,045 in the 40 range now.
You're
So
moving up fast. Don't worry about that. Everybody that you see in here that now knows you or that didn't know you, everybody in this is very, very supportive. They're always coming in, watching, commenting. Those, I call them dumb, but I'm doing these silent all day live streams. I'm trying to get my watch hours up by doing that a little bit. Plus, some people really enjoy it. They love. The one lady would come in and say, "Oh, this is so nice. I'm working at home and it's silent." Most people like a little music. If I come across a silent live stream, I hate them. I'll swipe. But some people actually like it and watch it. So some of these people, like when Dixon, she'll come in and watch it for a little bit, and even though she'd rather have music, but yeah, you definitely come into the right crowd. I was glad to get you up here. Everyone to meet you because they're going to support the heck out of you. Don't be afraid to go live. You're going to get people in there.
Okay. See, that's why I love YouTube. It is so much different from Instagram. It's great.
Yep. Also, if you do StreamYard, if this platform, you can also link your Facebook account and you can live stream to YouTube and Facebook at the same time.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. See, my Facebook account had like only a few followers. I started it about the same time I started the YouTube channel just so I could be on all those platforms. And it has like a few. I don't know how much interaction I would get on the Facebook. But so if I was to do a live on YouTube, I've never done one. Can I just use the YouTube app or do I need to get a different app for streaming?
No, absolutely. And actually, the vertical streams they come out with gets a lot more interaction, a lot more views and watch time because it's going out into the shorts feed.
Yeah.
But yeah, and what I like about YouTube is you get 1080 recording. It's free. If you want 1080 on StreamYard, you have to pay $50 a month to have it. So I don't worry about it. I just do whatever is free on.
Okay.
But
yeah.
You can absolutely go through the YouTube app. The only thing I don't like about the YouTube platform is the chat. When it comes up, it really quickly disappears. So you have to have a second device to babysit chat.
Oh, okay.
StreamYard has a lot more features you can do. Like you see that ticker strolling across the bottom. I got my icon up there in the top corner. You can do cool things like I got some cool intros that I add on, which I forgot to play. Banners, brands. You can add some background music on here that won't give you a copyright. So StreamYard and YouTube is I just alternate between them.
Okay. That's good to know. Well, thank you for having me on here. It was really fun. Maybe we can do this again in the future. I don't know. I enjoyed just hanging out and answering questions. There was a lot that we could have addressed that we didn't. So, there's always more things to talk about. So,
absolutely.
yeah.
Anytime you want to collab again, be my guest. Some of these guys might, because they all live stream too. Not every one of them, but a lot of them might ask you to come up on theirs in the future too. And anytime you want to do this again, just let me know and we'll do it. I enjoy it. Some of these guys have permanent partners they do this with, like Vibes Aquatics. Always have two other people up with him, TJ Autocross and Smokey. So
yeah.
Shamu said he's going to binge watch your videos tonight, and he says, "Nice to meet you."
Thank you, Shamu.
Do you tend to Aquashella? Have you ever been to Aquashella? I've never been.
I haven't. I've been seeing stuff about it, and I think there's one in Dallas coming up soon. And I seen that MJ Fish Tanks is going to be there and MD Fish Tanks. I'm a big fan of both of theirs. And, I'm not driving all the way to Dallas or flying all the way to Dallas for it, but still, I'm like, oh, maybe in the future that would be really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Jungle Jim, stop slacking there, man.
One day I'll live stream.
So, okay. Well, on that note, we're at the bottom of the channel. I'll let you be. Thank you again. You were great.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, guys. On that note, I'm going to hang it up and get off here. Appreciate you coming in and hanging out with us. I hope you enjoyed Talisa. It looks like you did. If you're not subscribed to her channel, definitely do that. And I know she'll be checking you guys out. So She's been doing this 5 months. She's new to the YouTube game a little bit, but she's climbing fast. So, no, thank you, Jim. Thank you, June. But it is coming up on 8 o'clock here, and I got things from pets to take care of and all that fun stuff. It was a good live stream. We had 31 to 32 people on here at one point. We still got 27 in here now. This has been one of the best live streams I've done yet. That's all thanks to you guys. I am about 300 watch hours away from getting monetized. It's getting very, very close. And again, that's all because of you guys. So thank you for all your support, and be safe. Have a good rest of the week. I'm out.